Hi, and welcome to Homeschool Advice with Laura Geis. I'm Laura Geis, author of the Homeschool Toolkit and founder of HomeschoolAdviceOnline.com. And I told you that lately I've been getting a lot of questions in the area of math, and this week is no exception. A mother wrote in and asked, how do I teach math to my son? And that's really all she gave me. I don't really know how old her son is or what kind of curriculum she's using, so I'm going to share with you the 5 steps that I include in every math lesson that I teach, and hopefully that will help you in teaching your son. And if you ever have a more specific question, feel free to write in with that question and I'll see what I can do with that one. But 5 things to include in every math lesson. 1 is a warm-up. Just as a runner doesn't go outside and start running right away. They walk or jog to get warmed up. When you're doing a math lesson with your son, do some kind of a warm-up. And it should only take 1 or 2 minutes. If your son's young, say something like, can you count by 10s to 100? That won't take long, but it gets their mind focused on math and it lets them review some things that they've learned before. If your child's older, you could ask something like, can you tell me the formula for the area of a rectangle, if that's something that you want them to memorize. So after you do the warm-up, then it's time to review. And some curricula already have this built in where they have different sections of problems on the homework that, where they take problems that your students learned in the past and give you a few of each of those. Some are really good at that, and some don't have so much review. If yours does not, it's real easy to put it in there. Just pick some problems from previous lessons and have your child do maybe 3 to 5 of those so that you make sure they're retaining all those skills that you've already taught them. And when you're doing the review, start with things you're pretty sure your child knows that are going to be easy for him, and then maybe throw in something that's been a problem area so you can see, does he know it now or not? Do we need to keep working on this or not? So review. So we have warm up, review, and then new. It's always time to teach something new, right? So we can progress. And when you're teaching something new, whatever you can do to teach the concept first before you go into the numbers and doing it on the paper, the better off you will be. So if you have a kindergarten or first grader, you need to give them objects to count or objects to put together when they're adding or to take away when they're subtracting. Or I know when my kids got a little older, one time we were studying the surface area of a rectangle and they totally weren't getting it. They weren't getting this formula. They couldn't remember it. And finally, it was Christmas time, and I got out a Christmas package, and I said, surface area. It's just, how much wrapping paper do we need to cover this box? And we talked about, there's a rectangle in the front and the back, and there are 2 rectangles on the side, and there are 2 rectangles on the top and bottom. So basically, you're taking 6 rectangles and adding up the area. And finally, they got it, but it was just because they had something that they could actually visualize. So when you're teaching something new, try to teach the concept first. The 4th thing you should include in every math lesson is practice. And in math, kids need lots of practice. But lots of practice doesn't mean that you have to sit down for an hour and a half every day practicing math. Especially for little kids, that's way too long. I know one of my sons, I used to do half of his math lesson in the morning and half in the afternoon. And he liked math a lot better that way because he didn't have to sit still for so long. But when practicing math, and any subject really, small doses, small frequent doses are usually better than one long session. So, do 10 problems early in the day, 10 later in the day, or just don't get carried away with too much practice at one time, because after a certain number of problems, it's no longer helping anymore. So keep that in mind when practicing. And the final thing you need to have in every math lesson is feedback. And by feedback, I just mean you let your student know, how are they doing? Are they getting this or not? And usually they'll pretty much know if they've got it or not. But, sit down and grade the paper. You could read the answers off and have them grade their own papers. You could grade the papers. If you grade the papers, beware of the red pen syndrome, where you totally cover their paper with red marks, and when they get it back they're so discouraged they don't feel like trying anymore. Try to find something they did well, even if they're struggling. Circle the ones that they got correct if you can. Focus on the good things that they're doing, and then go over the problems. If they miss something, try to fix that. That's part of the feedback. That's part of the learning process, and it's okay to make mistakes, but we can go back and fix them. So make sure you give them feedback. And the sooner you can give them the feedback, the better. So if you can do it the same day that you teach the math lesson, that is ideal. If not, first thing the next day. And finally, my last tip about teaching math especially is your child really needs to master a skill before he moves on. So if he doesn't know his addition facts yet, you're going to really struggle with teaching, adding two-digit numbers. So make sure he gets those math skills mastered before you move. Don't move too fast. This is not a race. Your goal is not to get through the book in 180 days. Your goal is for your child to know math and understand those math skills. So I hope this helps. And remember, if you ever need any more help, if you need a free plan book, or I've got a lot of free resources on my website at www.homeschooladviceonline.com. I'll see you next time.